This is the virtual happy hour experience with the Drunken Grape. I am your show host, Rob. And today we are talking investing in the happy hour. This is the investing happy hour with Francois Lanthier, an international real estate guru. He has a podcast called Wine and Real Estate. We're going to get into that. And to kick this off, Francois, how are you? What's going on?
Good. I'm excellent. I'm currently very excited because I am looking at more international properties. As you mentioned earlier, I am looking in Dubai. I'm also looking at Grand Cayman because of the conversations we're going to have later on. So yeah, money, where can you put some money in different accounts? I know Switzerland's great, but Grand Cayman is also interesting. So lots happening, and I'm enjoying my wine as well. So thanks for having me.
Awesome. And my former accountant lives in Grand Cayman. We're still good friends, and I'm looking to actually possibly move there down the road. So on the happy hour, cheers to you, buddy. This is the Pert Home certified beer sommelier glass. When I got my designation, I got this glass with it. And tulip glasses are awesome for beer tasting. Now, I have a Duchess of Bourgogne Flemish Sour Ale. This is an awesome beer. It is by Brewery Verhage, I believe is how you say it. It's always complicated with some of these terms. I'm pretty good with Italian and French and Spanish. Dutch, Flemish, that might be a little bit of a different story, Francois. But, you know, this one is past its date. Things are date stamped, and I actually guilty of this. I pulled this out, and it's expired on the 21st of November. 2021, so it's months dead. So we're not sure. You can actually see how it's flat in the head. This should actually have a lot more foam to it. These are strong ales. Now, these are separate batches of beer brewed. It's in commemoration, I believe, of a daughter that had, her father was a Duchess Charles the Bold. So it was Mary, I believe, Princess Mary. This commemorates in the 15th century. She died while riding on horseback. She had a horseback riding accident, fell from her horse. Pretty tragic. But these are great red wine substitutes. And ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching this, smash the like, share the channel, subscribe, hit the notification bell to all when you do. We have fabulous interviews like this almost each and every week. A wide range of things over a happy hour of drinks. Now, this has a very strong balsamic vinaigrette characteristic to it. Surprisingly, it has held up pretty well. And I have a feeling it is because it's pretty high alcohol. It's about 6.2%, sharp acidity, definite sour tart note, sour cherry. Now, this is a batch of two different beer batches. It's mixed fermentation. So you have a batch, I believe, that's 8 months, and then it's 18 months aged in barrel mixed together, which comes up with a concoction. And the barrel aging definitely gives it some ageability. I wouldn't recommend buying expired beer like I did. Note to yourself, date stamps tend to sit down around here in the back of the label describing the beer itself. So something to always note. And these beers also go through a second fermentation and bottle. They add a bit of brewer's yeast and sugar in, seal it up. And what happens is it adds carbonation, also adds alcoholic strength to it. So usually these things jump about a half point to a point or so in alcohol. Quite a boozy wine. Now, the balsamic vinaigrette and the acidity of this characteristic of this wine, kind of like your Shiraz, cuts into beautiful things like beef short rib. It's awesome with beef short rib. That's one of the best food pairings for this beer out there. Duchess of Bourgogne, a fantastic beer, highly rated, into the 90s on a 100-point scale. Well-deserved, one of the best in the world. Wonderful finish and length to the beer. Length is, of course, how long the flavors hover. The finish is what it flavors with or has. It's got that rich balsamic vinaigrette and red cherry flavor characteristics. Awesome beer. So what do you have there, my friend? It is a Shiraz. I love Shiraz. Syrah, the sister grape. Australian?
No, you're going to cringe. It's from Canada. I'm not too sure. It's some sort of mix from Magnota Winery. So Anyway,
Big cider
basic
house as
wine.
well. Just yeah, Niagara Powerhouse. They also produce a lot of excellent cider. That's really good. How do you like it?
I love it. It's my wine kind of on tap. So I buy like the big 8 liter container, and that's my usual kind of house wine. So I love that in Italian wines. But going back to your beer, I'm curious about what temperature should you drink it at? Because I know some people drink them too cold or too warm, but it makes a difference. Just like the Shiraz, if it's too hot or too cold.
Yeah, so this one's on the cooler side. It's probably about 8-9 degrees Celsius right now. That's the edge of where you want to serve it. Range is about 8 to 12 degrees Celsius for this beer.
So kind of warmer to me. Like I'm really not a kind of
yeah. Like basically, I pulled it out of my fridge. My beer fridge sits at about 40. Our wine beer fridge sits at about 43, 45 degrees Fahrenheit. A little bit on the cool end, but you let something like this sit on the counter like I did for 10 or 15 minutes, you bring it right up to serving strength, like the serving temperature. And temperature is integral because that's where all the flavor notes come out.
It really changes.
That is very important because it changes the whole complexion of it. Yes, if it's too cold, it will mute a lot of the flavor profile. If it's too warm, I find that it wipes out some of its vibrancy. It's just, it's who wants to drink a drink that's too warm unless it's coffee, or hot chocolate, hot cider, something like that. But there is a certain range that it performs at its best.
Yeah, absolutely. And I find
the heavier, the higher. And something like that, you're going to sit on the higher end scale of that. It's going to be 14 to 16 degrees Celsius for that.
Yes, but again, if it's too hot, like I was in Costa Rica a while ago and they served it room temperature, which was more like 35 degrees. And it was not very good. So I'm in Canada, I tend to keep them a bit cooler and makes a big difference.
Yeah, we could probably go down there and coach them on a bit of cellaring.
Yes, yeah, you need to, cool off your wine because it's going to go bad.
Absolutely. So getting into it, we have, financial calamity coming. Inflation, they say 7, 8, 9%. I think I just read that inflation was the highest ever in June. It spiked at 9.1% in the States. We're about 1% below them. In reality, I think inflation's higher. Gas prices, some things are up 50, 60%. Salaries have not jumped, in the pandemic and coming out of it. Hospitality, services, airlines, retail. These bozos, and I'll use the term bozos because it's idiotic. How do you entice somebody to come back when you're only paying barely over minimum wage and the purchasing power has been slashed up to 30, 40% in some cases? How do you entice somebody to come back to that? Into a jungle that's mismanaged, shorthanded, everyone's underpaid except for the board of directors that take their fat cut. It's disgusting. That whole thing has to change. But with this is going to tie into international investing. Look at what's happening with the basis point jumps. The Bank of Canada, in order to deal with inflation, is now raising interest rates. This is a common practice to stymie it. This is one of the ways to do it. Obviously, we do not have the production capacity in manufacturing of goods and services and the consumption to really radically increase goods and services. You need a massive immigration boom or a baby boom to do that in order to stymie inflation. So what's going to happen, obviously, is a lot of these people carrying heavy mortgages, they're going to get killed with to another percentage point or two up in the hiking of the rates, and their minimum payments are just going to skyrocket, aren't they?
Yes. Yeah. And it's quite unfortunate. So that's why personally, as an investor, real estate investor, I've chosen to start investing in other countries. So Canada, USA, Europe is seeing quite high inflation, but countries like Portugal is actually seeing 0.3% inflation. So very different story over there. And other cash markets like Costa Rica, Grand Cayman Island, where there is no real estate financing or much less of it, inflation is much more under control. I mean, it's not to say that the countries are perfect. There's other issues. But if inflation is your point there, there's places where you can park your money and invest and be kind of safer from inflation. So that's my strategy personally.
So that's awesome. How do people reach out to you? Like, what is your What's your sweet spot of working with people? Obviously, they have to be in a certain income range to do this, right?
Actually, no. I started this, that's the shocking part. I was almost at minimum wage. So you spoke about minimum wage. I had a 6-figure income and it was hell. So I quit everything and I went to a very low bottom, like customer service job, almost minimum wage. And then I'm like, okay, I need to do something because I can't survive on this wage. And I respect everybody at minimum wage. I mean, it's hard work, and we need people to do that work.
It's brutally underpaid work too.
It really is, but it's neat. Like, we need people, but they need to do something to get out of it at some point. You can do it for a year or two or something. So I speak to anybody, really. I meet young people, some older people starting over. It's really being smart about it. You don't need millions of dollars at all. Like I said, I was on minimum wage. You can use Canada for what it's got. So the banks, yes, they're increasing their rates, but they're also becoming more loose with lending money that you can use wisely to invest. So you can play them at their own game, like really use the system in a positive way to get out of Canada. And for your investments. Of course, you have to be very careful bringing the money back to Canada. There's tax considerations, things like that. So I do coaching. I have a Facebook group. There's free content there. And I also do paid coaching one-on-one. I mentor people all over North America now. I have students in Canada and USA, not Mexico yet, but soon. And it's surprising what you can do if you put your mind to it. You have access to a lot of credit that you can use wisely.
Yeah, and here we are with your business page.
Oh, great.
This is your website. You can walk us a bit through it. I believe this is the homepage. Francois M. Lanthier, investor, podcast host, coach, and mentor.
Yes.
And, you talk about your share your return REI and experiences with others. I guess your return on investment. Creating opportunities for people. We're talking about wealth creation. I think this is critical at any stage, especially now because of economic uncertainty. What do you think? Do you think massive layoffs are going to come? Do you think that we're going to see a currency crash and an economic crash coming with all the reckless currency printing and ballooning of debt, especially under Trudeau's government here in Canada and the States under Biden's administration?
I think we're going to
and around the world.
We're going to be surprised because there's a few funny things going on. So yes, the prices are going up. Inflation is out of hand, but we're still seeing a massive influx of people coming to Canada to move. And they're putting more pressure on production, on housing and things and services as well. So I don't think we're going to see massive layoffs, but we will see people losing their houses and prices going down, things like that. It's going to look like the 1990s. I was about 10 years old then when the HST or GST came out. I think we're going to see something like that. So people losing houses. Yes, there were layoffs. I don't know if it's that massive because now we're so diversified. We're not as industrial as in 1990 when the car industry in Ontario was huge. Now that's not the case. We're more service based. So I think the changes will be interesting. So you should diversify yourself. If you have a side gig, I would recommend that you invest in that because your job safety isn't there. If you can get some passive income or active income as well from other sources, you should do that as well, and from outside of Canada and within Canada. But definitely look at other options. So.
Yeah, and keep in mind, people, this is education. This isn't necessarily strict investment advice, at least on my end, as I'm not a professional. But this is education that's very rich. And, even talking about the education of cryptocurrencies, right now there's a market that's kind of bare. You and I talked about this in the green room. But I really believe the super rich love to deter us through the media and everything else to deflect us away from what they're really buying and doing.
Yes.
It's a deliberate ploy. It's constant. It's continuous. You've seen it in other things like precious metals. Why are they artificially low right now when they should be skyrocketing with the uncertainty of things? And I think there's definitely a few things. What's your thoughts on precious metals, like, holding physical minted bullion and gold and silver, or cryptocurrencies?
I think it's a great strategy if you can. And right now, like you said, it's quite, affordable. I mean, not for everybody, but let's say it is for you. I think it's something very good. A lot of people, and my investor friends that I have, also invest in fine wines that they store. That's also something you can use to trade, artwork as well. So there's many ways to invest, and I speak mostly about real estate because that's something I know, but there's many other ways, many other strategies, and physical, tangible things I think is essential right now. More and more people are talking about becoming self-sufficient as well, like food and all that. We've seen
farming.
Farming is huge. My wife is getting it all into canning and stuff, and maybe we should get some chickens, which I never thought would happen. But going back to the basics, how do you survive if there's a huge crash and no food in the grocery stores? Because we're very dependent on the grocery stores and this whole thing. So if you have gold or maybe even cheaper metals like silver or something, you could exchange a bit more readily, or even food. If you have a plantation in Costa Rica of pineapple, you exchange that for meat, you can survive. So I think it's
the old barter system.
Yeah, the old barter system, I think, is coming back. Well, we're seeing it with Airbnb, with Turo, all those systems coming about. That's kind of bartering, just the modern way. So I think that's coming back in 2023 for sure.
Yeah, and cash is going nowhere. There was a stupid attempt to go cashless.
Yeah.
Look what the Rogers outage did across this country past Friday. People using debit who live with no cash in their pockets, absolutely foolish. Couldn't even purchase anything for the day. And there are people who don't even carry credit cards. They just use a debit card everywhere.
Yeah.
And can you imagine being rendered inept, or you have no access to your cash flow? And getting back to this, banks, because everything's so digitized, I think there's an under 3% actual physical cash reserves in this economy.
Yeah, you have to book if you want to go and make a large,
it's crazy,
transfer, like in cash. So.
And that's ludicrous. Like, what happened? I mean, what pipe dream was this? Redundancy. I studied IT security. I worked in IT security. I put consultants on projects as a project manager, or more of a project coordinator, actually, and a sales rep at the time. It's going back a few years. But redundancy is a key factor. And we used to call it a window. If a window's left open, somebody's going to jump through it, like a burglar coming into your house in the middle of the night. Well, with investing, don't leave a window open or a stress point where your strategy under certain circumstances or situations could be rendered useless.
Yes.
Like, think about it. People who don't carry cash, if the ATMs go bust or there's a run up on cash and cash runs out in society, that means that doesn't matter what's in your bank account. That's not really going to work too well, is it?
Nope.
Cash is always king or queen. Always have that in your strategy. Definitely. You want to track large purchases. I get it. Use your credit cards or your bank cards for that. But outside of that, you want near money, which is obviously gold and silver, which is real money. The rest of what we're talking about is currency or cryptocurrencies, because you can really go borderless with all these things.
Yes.
And let's talk about the creative real estate investing community while we're at it. We got this up on your website, FrancoisLanthier.com. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure to check this out. This is going to be in the show notes. It's also going to be in the captions of the audio for this video. So walk us through this, brother. What do we have here with the creative real estate investing community?
Yeah, so I call it the creek. I think it's a fun play on words, so up the creek. Anyway, I know it could be negative, but I see it as positive. So you don't, as a real estate investor, you also want to invest, but you don't want to be just in real estate. And you can use real estate to create more cash, more liquidity, which seems counterintuitive, but many countries, you can use the system in a positive way, but you can buy places, force appreciation, pull money out, convert that money into hard assets or like physical gold and silver, and then have your tenants pay for it, basically, or the people that are renting the properties. So that's one way of becoming more liquid. And if you do it in different countries as well, now you have kind of safety spots as well. So if Canada becomes too bad or something goes wrong, then you can go to other countries. So that's what I'm setting up for myself and my family, and for investors as well that have joined my community. I tell them to be in several countries and also have residency in those countries. That way, if we get locked in again, well, you can flee. They usually announce the dates. So you can be in other places and just continue your business. So that's what the Creek is all about. We're starting much smaller, though. So at first, I mean, you can't just jump from being a homeowner to investing in 5 countries. It does take a bit of time. For me, it's been 7 years now. But with my students, I do promote small incremental changes, and it makes a big difference in your life and future. So.
And here we are moving along, and I agree with you. Diversity is key. Having a separate secondary offshore residence, having a second passport, especially if you can legally obtain it by birthright. Very, very powerful things to have. Again, you'll want to consult professionals for this, ladies and gentlemen. This is just advice and education on this channel right now. These are very important things to look at, though. I mean, this is securing your legacy and your future. I love these discussions on a happy hour, my friend. And cheers to you. Yes. Back to my stale dated Duchess of Bourgogne sour Flemish ale, which still is actually quite good. I do notice that it just doesn't hold the carbonation like it once should have. So carbonation helps with acidity as well. Higher carbonated drinks tend to have the perception that they have higher acid because they just help cutting into dishes. So little tips and tricks there. Now we're looking at your wine and real estate YouTube channel. It's a budding channel. You mentioned most people are on audio. Imagine things like Spotify, where you would have your channel, those types of networks. But ladies and gentlemen, it's always a beast to try to gain subscribers if you're not cheating and paying for it in YouTube. YouTube's algorithm makes it difficult to hit that milestone mark of 1,000. Help Francois out because he's got some brilliant things here. We're going to bring up the intro of this and play it. I think, why the heck not?
Hello, investors. Francois from the Creative Real Estate Investing Community, the Creek, as I like to call it, and Wine and Real Estate. I love that, by the way. Thanks for tuning in to Wine and Real Estate. And you're probably wondering, what's this video about? And what it's about, it's really regarding coaching. So a lot of people, lots of listeners have been asking, can you help us out? Can you coach us? Can you help us grow our business outside of Canada? Internationally, out of province. So I have created this amazing group, the Creek, the Creative Real Estate Investing Community, and it's all about creative investing. So we're going to learn about OPM, other people's money, how to invest passively, investing remotely, what else? Short-term rentals, vacation rentals, investing in Canada and the USA, multifamily, commercial conversions to residential, buying mobile homes, and much, much more. So I invite you to join the group. It's free. Join my free Facebook group. And you can also inquire about my coaching. That part is paid. And there's also a paid Facebook group. I'd love to see you there. There you go.
Awesome. I love it. That was a really good intro video. It really breaks down what you do. Again, ladies and gentlemen, go to that channel, subscribe. Hit the notification bell to all when you do. Some awesome content there. And I always love Mahatma Gandhi saying, be the change you want to be. And that's really what you're helping people do.
Yeah, and I really want people to give back. Like when you talk about investing, it sounds very self-serving, but that's not my goal. I'm Christian. I believe in giving back. And that's my purpose. Of course, we need money to go around and to live. So yes, there's some exchange of money. As I mentioned, there's some paid stuff, but I also want to lead with value and give as much free information as I can. And yeah, and I admire what you do with the Drunken Grape. It's great to learn about
Hey, thanks,
beer.
buddy.
I'm now curious. I've never been a fan of beer, but it does sound, the way you described it, it sounds appealing now, just like I do with real estate investing. I make it maybe more attainable to everybody. As I mentioned, out of country, you might not be ready for that. It could be out of your city, province, country, but and then you grow from there. Mars at some point, who knows?
Well, it's true. And it's all about opening up the
That's
range
it.
of things. I mean, we talk about what you do or I do. When we talk about beer, most people are stuck in that whole opinion of, oh, it's hoppy, it's bitter,
Yeah.
or, it's got this off putting flavor to it, or it's kind of nondescript. It's just, light, bready, citrusy, cereally, crisp, because most of the beer in the world are lagers. People are exposed to things like Heineken, Stella, Molson Canadian, for instance. These are the types of beers that really permeate the
Labatt
globe.
Blue.
And that style of it, Labatt Blue, and people don't realize that there are literally thousands of styles of beer out there. So all they see is this narrow little window. Well, that happens too with what you're doing. People see a narrow window. I got to buy a house, get a job, settle, have 2.5 children, a white picket fence, and hopefully have enough to retire.
I know tons of people that actually
That is about go ahead.
they own several properties, but they're tenants. So they rent. They may have no kids. They never bought a house, but they bought all kinds of properties. You can really switch that model around and have fun with it. Or the opposite. They had the beautiful house, the kids, they've grown up. Now they're tenants in several countries and they own places in several places that are profitable. So kind of like beer, like look at the other options. I had an awesome beer in Quebec one time with green tea in it, and it was really good, very different. And I'm not usually a fan of beer, like the lagers, as you mentioned. And yeah, there's so many options. You're not limited.
Well, you look at something like this, a flavor wheel, right? And then you take a look at the color of beer. Look at the range alone. And this is just a simplified form of a flavor wheel and profiles of beer to get people around typicity and to get around what is out there. I mean, obviously the range, if you really drew this, it would be a lot more, gradual into the color hues and a lot more descriptive than this, and would really be too complex for the purposes of standardized learning. And that's why these types of things exist. But that just gives you an idea right there. Like, look at the color. Most of the things people drink are along this part of the spectrum, maybe dark into stouts, but they don't really get into things like sours. They don't get into lambics. They don't get into Trappist ales. They don't realize that there's like fruit wheat beers out there that don't even taste like beer when you drink it. Like Fruli, that's a great example. It's like strawberry shortcake in a glass. It's terrific. Even like Kronenberg Blanc Free Rouge, one of the biggest hits of beer lately. I had that on my last show. It is an awesome beer to introduce people to because it has concentrated raspberry and elderberry juice in it, on top of being a French blanche or wheat beer. So it gives you a lot of scope and range there. Then you have champagne beer out there by Deuce, for instance, which has been around since 1791. I mean, the range is just massive. And talking about what you do to cap off the show, you're so right. Real estate investing, it comes in many shapes and forms. There are people who have all kinds of passive income and cash flow who own things who just walk around and rent. They rent their boats, they rent their cottage, they timeshare, they go to vacation spots and all-inclusive resorts. This is what they do. And they're just traveling nomads with a huge bankroll. Isn't that a lot better than being indentured to your single house and your job?
Yeah, much safer. If things don't go well, then you're not stuck to that with that property and that escalating mortgage. So, and the laws in most places are quite favorable to tenants. So again, you've got that extra protection. So why not use it to your advantage?
That's brilliant. Listen, you've been a tremendous guest. People, ladies and gentlemen, you can reach out to Francois on LinkedIn. We're going to share his profile quickly. Been doing a lot of sharing today. My videographer, Mike, is probably frustrated with this by now because he's got his work cut up, but God bless him. Without him, I could not do this. run these podcasts and really build the channel up. And he's an integral part of it. Much love to you, Mike Merritt. Big shout out to you. Here you are anyway. This is your profile on LinkedIn, ladies and gentlemen. Francois Lanthier, reach out to him, connect. Has already got quite a following, into the thousands of people following what you're doing, and a global community. I love this. You are very rich in life and very rich in purpose, my friend. Be the change you want to be. Listen, whatever you decide to do, ladies and gentlemen, have a terrific day. We went a little longer in this exciting investing happy hour with Francois Lanthier. I am your show host, Rob. And remember, tune in to this and other great episodes. Bye for now.